Hey guys, what's up? So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a walk around of my GT3 and be showing you guys the spec of the car and like all the features that it has, alright? So let's start with the exterior of the car. So let's first start off with the color. So I always get questions on like what color is this car from like my friends and like random people. So this car is in the chalk color. So for you Porsche people, you already know what color this is. For who's not a Porsche person, you might not know. And this color is like an off-white, kind of gray, kind of white color. It's not pure white, it's just like an off-white color. I wouldn't have bought this car in any other color. I wanted the chalk color. This was like my number one. Like, it needed to have this on the spec or I wouldn't have got it. And yeah, I love this color so much that actually when I got the car, later on I actually ordered online like the key fob so it can match the color of the car. So if you guys see my key fob here, it's also in chalk and it just matches with the car perfectly. So some notable features on mine is the mirrors are finished in carbon fiber. They have a carbon fiber finish on them, and then the door handles along with the windshield, not the windshield, the headlight fluid washers caps are also in black as well. So they're not paint matched, they're in black, which I actually like better because I think the black contrast on the chalk looks really good. And yeah, other than that, I don't think there's too much else going on in the exterior. It just looks good. And yeah, also I do have the, instead of the amber or orange side markers, I have the clear ones, which I think look way better than the orange, especially on this car because it makes everything flow way together. You don't have some kind of like ugly orange piece right there, so that's good. As for my brakes, I have the regular steel brakes instead of the carbon ceramics. Now, in my opinion, I would have wanted the carbon ceramic brakes just because I know they produce less brake dust, and these steel brakes produce a lot. I had it on my old 718 Cayman S, and they produce a bunch of brake dust, and on this car they do as well. I mean, that's the really only downside I think to the steel brakes is just that it just produces so much brake dust. But at the end of the day, it's whatever. You clean your wheels, it's not a big deal. So I want either or. And but I think that whoever did the spec on this car did a really good job, just because I'll show you in a bit. But the brakes kind of match like the interior of the car. I kind of like how it all flows together. I almost forgot about one of the most important parts of the car, the gas cap. I'm just kidding, but this car does have the special like Porsche like aluminum gas cap instead of the regular plastic one, which in my opinion, I don't think it's really that necessary, but it is always cool whenever you fill up gas. You always open the gas cap and you're like, oh, like I forgot I had this. It's like one of those things like you always forget about, but once you go to the gas station, oh yeah, this feels nice. But I do have that. It's pretty cool to have. It's like a whatever thing. I have a full PPF on the front of the car, on the mirrors, the door handles, and also the side of the door. This car, it gets like a lot of rocks hitting it because it's so low and stuff, so it's always nice to have that PPF. Alright, now let's move on to the interior of the car. So the first thing you notice when you open the car door is the very side of the car, the bottom of the car. I have this piece that lights up and it says GT3. I actually didn't know I had this until like literally like a day later when I was opening my car and it was the middle of the night and I saw this piece glowing. I didn't realize it was lighting up. So I have this piece that lights up with GT3, which I think is pretty cool. It's also have the carbon fiber finish on it. Basically, the finish on my interior, any of the trim pieces, they're all in carbon fiber, which I love. It looks nice and sleek on the inside and it's just awesome. Other than that, I think my GT3 has just the regular interior with some leather bits and a lot of Alcantara, and it's finished in the red stitching. So all around the car there's red stitching everywhere, which is cool because it matches up with the brakes and the seat belts. If you guys have seen my video where I actually buy this car and pick it up, I literally didn't know it had red seat belts until I sat in the car for the first time. First drive in the GT3. I got red seat belts, I didn't even know. And put on my seatbelt to drive in, and I was like, oh, it has red seatbelts, I didn't know. So everything really ties together pretty nicely, like with the brakes on the outside and then inside with all the red stitching, red seatbelt and everything. It all kind of ties together and I think it looks really good. Alright, let's talk about the seats on this car. So this car has the 18-way sport seats. It does not have the full carbon bucket seats. Now I know some of you guys are probably like, oh, you should have found one with the carbon bucket seats. They're way cooler, like they're better for the track or whatever. Now for me, I daily drive my car, and I sat in a car with full bucket seats and this car with 18-way seats. Also, my last car had 18-way seats as well. And I did like the carbon bucket seats. Once you get into them, they feel super comfortable. They're nice to sit in. They hold you in tight. But the only problem I have with them is just getting in and out of them is such a hassle just because of the side bolsters and the way they are. It's just super hard to get in and out of. And I already know, like, I drive my friends around. I drive my girlfriend around. I already know it's going to be like such a hassle for them to get in and out of them. And just for my needs, I'm not really like gonna track my car like that. I daily drive my car, so for my needs for daily driving and everything, these seats do everything I want them to. You just get in them. You don't really have to worry about like trying to finagle your way in there. You get in, sit down, they're comfortable. You can adjust them how you want, and you can just go. These 18-way seats soak up bumps way better than the bucket seats, just when you're driving. And then this car's pretty stiff, but I feel like the seats help a lot just because of like all the cushion they have. Once you go over like a bump or anything, they really soak that up. So I feel like these seats make the car way more daily driver friendly than the bucket seats do. So another thing I have is I have the Alcantara steering wheel. Now, this was one thing I was kind of iffy on because I've read online that if you have the Alcantara steering wheel, over time it gets a little grimy, like the oils from your hands and everything. It gets into the fabric and then it starts like losing the coloration and it doesn't just feel as good. So far, I haven't had any issues with it. I actually really like the steering wheel. It's super comfortable to drive in. If I had the choice to pick, I think I would have still picked the leather one just because I'm worried about the wear and tear in the future. And it has the little red line in the middle, which also ties together like I was saying earlier. But one positive about this Alcantara steering wheel is it doesn't really retain heat as much as the leather one. So if you leave your car out in the sun or something, and when you hop back in and want to drive it, you don't really have to worry about burning your hand on the steering wheel. It's cool to the touch. So alright, now let's talk about the transmission. So this car, I actually have the 7-speed PDK, not the manual. And I really wanted the manual, guys. Like, if I could have found a manual one in this color, I would have got that one instead. I promise you. Like, I just couldn't find a manual. Like, there were plenty of other ones. There was like a white one, a black one, a red one. Manuals online I found, but they just weren't in the color I wanted. Manual was like my number 2 choice. Number 1 was the color. Number 2 was the transmission. If I could find a manual one, but I could not. I'm happy with the PDK. This PDK is completely different than the PDK in my Cayman. This one feels way more aggressive. It feels way more like you're driving like a manual car, even though it's not. And when I do a review of this car, I'll talk about it more. Another good thing about the PDK is it's super easy to do launch control. Once the car's warmed up in temperature, you just step on the brake, step on the gas, it'll be in launch control. You let go of the brake and it'll go. So that's super cool too. So another thing this car has is the front lift system. I've seen some people online saying like, oh, you don't need the front lift, the car's not that low, you can get over stuff. I don't know how they do that. This car is pretty low, and then if there's any like small incline or something, even on like a flat surface, if there's any like weird incline, like you can probably scrape on it if you're not going at an angle. If I didn't have this lift system, I'd probably be overthinking all the time. With the lift, I don't really have to worry about it. I can like basically take my car anywhere and not really worry about that stuff. Alright, we're gonna backtrack to the seats again because I forgot about this, but this car does not have the heated seats. Before I bought this car, I was thinking like, if you're gonna get the 18-way seats, why not just have the heat seats as the extra option? Because with the bucket seats, you can't have the heat seats, but at least with the 18-way, you can have it. So I was always thinking, like, who would spec the car with the 18-way and not get the heat seats? But after driving this car and with this Alcantara and everything, you really don't need the heat seats. Like, maybe if you're in, like, a really cold place. As I was kind of saying earlier, the Alcantara on these seats, they kind of like aren't really affected too much by temperature. Even when it's cold outside, if you sit in the car, the seats aren't really that cold because the Alcantara in the middle kind of retains its heat. It doesn't really get cold like leather does, so the heat seats aren't really necessary in this car. I think I still would have liked to have heat seats, just to have it, but it's not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker for me, Technology-wise, it has, CarPlay, which I love. This car has navigation as well, which is useful, but I don't really use it since I use CarPlay. So I just use the CarPlay navigation on my maps. Dual climate control. This car doesn't have the roll cage, which US spec cars, they don't come with the roll cage, but I think if you do order it, you can have the option of the factory installing it after you order it. But honestly, I kind of like it not having the roll cage because it's nice to have this extra space in the back. I like put my book bag back here all the time, or like if I have something, I can put it back here, like a jacket or whatever. Probably one of the coolest things, which is the fire extinguisher. So this car does have the fire extinguisher here. It has the carbon fiber on the cup holders, Alcantara, glove box, leather on the front dash, mostly just Alcantara and leather everywhere. It has the auto dimming mirrors. It has the windshield wipers that will turn on when it senses that it's raining. Yeah guys, that's pretty much it for the spec of my GT3. When you're specing these cars, there's not really like too much stuff to choose from. I feel like the main 3 things people pick when they spec this car, or I guess main 4, would be the color, the brakes, carbon ceramic versus steel, the seats if you're going to get the carbon bucket seats or not, and then the transmission if you're going to get the manual or the PDK. Again, I love the spec of my car. There are a few things I feel like that could have been different, like the transmission, but again, it's not a deal breaker. It's still a GT3. It still looks good, sounds amazing, drives amazing, and it's just an awesome car altogether. So yeah, I still love this car. My dream car. That's all I can say about it. It's just amazing car. Let me know down in the comments below, what if you were specing your GT3, what you would pick. Change the color of the interior stitching. Would you get a different color of the car? Tell me what your dream spec would be if you were speccing one out. If you guys liked the video, throw a thumbs up button. Don't forget to that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.